Hello, everyone. I am Lauren Van Hamer. This is Beltline to Broadway, and I'm here with Angie Hayes, the Executive Director of North Carolina Theater Conference, and Judy Dove, who is, are you a board? What, aside from being Dean of all things, because you volunteer for so many organizations, what is your role, Judy, with North Carolina Theater Conference?
I have just rotated off of the board. I was on the board of directors for about 13 years, and I served as a secretary. And so this is my first year not being on the board for a long time.
Those term limits will get you.
I feel like they're going to rope you back in. I feel like you're never going to be far away. I don't know.
It has happened before.
Well, it's hard to get out of your system. Nctc is definitely a part of my life. So.
Well, I'm just so grateful you're both here. And I really wanted to, aside from the fact that Spirit Week is so much fun and I don't have kids of a certain age anymore who get to dress up for their school Spirit Week. So now I have to participate this way. I really appreciate all the work Nctc does throughout our state and really just want to shine a spotlight on that and educate people on what's happening here in North Carolina with this vibrant arts and education community. So Angie, tell me, what does North Carolina Theater Conference do?
Well, thank you, Lauren. I'm so happy to be here. I'm a huge fan of your work and all that you've been doing to keep us all connected since the beginning of the pandemic and the work you've done before that as well. So it's great to be here today celebrating Spirit Week. So the North Carolina Theater Conference is a statewide service, leadership, and advocacy organization for the theater field. We work with middle school theater programs, high school programs, college universities, professional community theater, individual artists, and arts advocates from across the state. So our programs serve young students and seniors, and we are happy to be a part of this, as you said, vibrant statewide theater community. We have a few flagship programs that folks know us for, including our statewide high school play festival, and that is what we are gearing up for next. We also produce Nctc College Day, which is an opportunity for high school students to come together along with all of our college theater programs to find the best fit school for them. And then we serve professional and community theaters through a variety of events, including a conference each summer that we're excited to be back to having next year. Like everyone else, we've pivoted to virtual everything over the past year, but we are headed back for in-person events here in the next few weeks. So we're really excited about that.
I'm so excited about that as well. And NCTC, North Carolina Theater Conference, came on my radar last year. First, Pete Comparator and his students had entered the play festival and won and went on to represent our state at SETC. And the kids and Pete were on my podcast. And the amount of excitement and pride they had in this program and going to NCTC and participating was infectious. And then Judy twinned with me last year during Spirit Week, and so that was really fun. So that's how NCTC got on my radar, and I did go to the SCTC conference, and it was pretty fabulous. I feel like arts education is such a vital part of any curriculum. And as my kids were going through school, I was so sad as arts funding was being cut and programs were being dismissed and things were going to after school programs, and not even those were kind of working very well. And then with COVID, I was amazed at the resilience of theater kids and theater teachers who continued to teach and create and connect with each other through the arts. So how did NCTC pivot during COVID? what was the support role that you provided to kids and theaters and programs throughout our state during COVID?
Sure, absolutely. Resilient is the word for sure. Our theater teachers and students are so very resilient, and they have done a phenomenal job keeping the arts alive in their schools over the past year. Judy's a testament to that. Her bell is going off right now as she is subbing this week. So NCTC, like everyone, we were right on the cusp of a major event when COVID shut us all down. We were getting ready to do our middle school play festival. So we immediately pivoted to virtual options for that. And then we started, looking ahead to the fall for our events for the fall. But really, it wasn't so much about how is NCTC going to produce our work? It was, we are a service organization. What does the field need from us at this time? So we immediately started partnering with the other organizations in our network, like Arts North Carolina, the North Carolina Presenters Consortium, the North Carolina Arts Council, other service organizations. And we created the reopening guide for our K-12 schools. This has obviously taken a lot of different forms over the last 2 years, but it started with, do we need masks? What kind of social distancing needs to take place? Because what we were hearing at the time, this was the spring of 2020, is that schools were going to be reopening in a matter of weeks, but that arts programs would not be taking place because of COVID and the dangers associated. And so it was our priority right from then to say, no, absolutely, we can do arts programming in a safe way. And we're here to help guide school districts, superintendents on how that can happen. So that was kind of the first thing that we jumped into, were those reopening guides. We eventually produced that for a separate guide for the theater field as well. And again, those have taken many shapes over the last 18 months, 2 years. And so that was one of the first things we did. We also wanted to make sure that the teachers felt safe and that they had the resources they need to start teaching in person again. Of course, many of our schools did not end up returning to in-person education that spring, but all of those resources carried through to the summer and the fall as well. We also, as far as advocacy goes, we're working on school funding, making sure our arts teachers had the proper PPE equipment. I almost said PPP because that's the next thing we worked on. But making sure everybody had the safety equipment they needed and felt safe to return to the classroom as soon as it was possible to do so. And then, of course, we started looking at PPP loans and all of the EIDL, all of the early support that our theater companies could participate in, all the way through this shuttered venue operator support grants, and making sure all of our theaters had access to those programs and understood how to apply for those things. And that wasn't so much applicable to our theater teachers, but the field in general. And then finally, of course, as we were all navigating COVID, we also all were taking a really important hard look at diversity, access, inclusion, and how we were addressing these things in the arts. So NCTC created a resource hub, a diversity, equity, inclusion resource hub that you can access today. It's available to anyone who would like to take a look, and started making sure our teachers had resources to diversify their casts and crews when they returned to school. So that was a lot, but that's just a snapshot of the things that we were working on for educators last spring and continue today.
I love that that you're really tapped into the service and service to our community, service to our schools, service to the kids, which is of utmost importance. What was there anything that surprised you? Because students, you did produce a festival, I think, over COVID, and I know Sanderson and Pete created a piece for NCTC. Was there anything that surprised you out of the work that the kids were producing and submitting for your programs?
Well, we did produce, so last year our high school play festival became a virtual showcase. Everything was submitted virtually. And because of all the issues around getting rights to shows and distributing widely online, we did require that everyone do either an adaptation of a work in the public domain or a new piece. And what surprised me was just how many of our students and teachers wanted to jump into writing new work, producing new work. And they really embraced our challenge that we threw their way of addressing social issues, addressing racism and social justice. And I shouldn't have been surprised because I have seen some fabulous student work at the play festivals, but the number of teachers and students who just jumped right into that and did amazing work was just fabulous to see. Yes, Pete and his students did a great job. But yeah, we had just a wonderful response. And of course, normally our play festivals, they're open to the public, but not everyone can be there. And so we had over 20,000 views of those performances. We had folks watching from all over the world. So as much as we hated not to be in person, it was a great opportunity for schools to get their work seen by the biggest audience ever. So I was surprised by how far the festival reach extended, and then just the great work. But again, I shouldn't have been surprised. Our teachers are fabulous.
They really are. They really are. Judy, you mentioned you sat on the board. You've been volunteering for this organization for a long time. 13 years is a long time to dedicate to an organization. So why is the work that NCTC does important to you?
Well, it started decades ago when I was a teacher, and I remember I was in Durham, and one of our county administrators came and said, there's this festival that I think you would enjoy taking your students to. And I remember my first reaction was, oh no, not more work. I can't do this. But I went ahead, and it was just the most amazing thing. The students loved not only showing their work, but I loved the advocacy that I saw growing among the students. They were all there united, no matter what school they were from. They were united in their causes. They supported one another. It was not a competition. It was a festival, and it was supportive. And then, as I went on, I just continued to do the festival. I brought that program with me when I moved to Raleigh. And I think I saw so many great things happen for my students and within my students that it encouraged me to keep doing it. And every year, at the end of every year, I would ask, what we would evaluate the program and say, is there something we should cut? Is there something we should keep? And unanimously, the students all wanted to keep going to NCTC. I mean, yes, they made friends, but they learned so much. They just had their horizons widened. And I think for me, because of the way that I see NCTC serving people, theater is art, and it's a very personal thing for every student. And this has given our students an avenue to tell their stories in different ways, to tell the stories of groups that are important to them, social issues. And then, like I said, just seeing them advocating with each other, and having been in it long enough that I've seen students who started out in middle school with me now as arts administrators and arts advocates, and, doing great things in the industry. So, I believe in the guidance and the leadership that NCTC gives, the opportunities. It is as much of my world and my season as any holiday or any season that comes along. There's, NCTC, it's that time of year.
I love that so much. And that speaks, no organization, as I'm learning now that we've become a nonprofit, no organization can survive without the volunteers. And so it's easy to want to pour your heart and soul and time into an organization like NCTC that's doing not just such good work, but far-reaching work across the state. It's not just in Raleigh; it's all over our state. Angie, now that schools have reopened for the most part, and students are back in classrooms, teachers are back teaching, what's coming up at NCTC to bring kids back together for these festivals?
So much is coming up here in the next few weeks. But yes, most of our schools are back in person, and they are coming to the High School Play Festival this year. We have about 90 productions that will present in person the last weekend of October and the first weekend of November. So we are going to see 45-minute plays from each of those schools. They have the opportunity to, again, write their own piece or bring something that is copyright protected this year. But we are a go for those in-person festivals. And, speaking of volunteers, we are a 3-person staff. We could not do this work without our incredible volunteers. Our board of directors is amazing. They go out and help us run festivals, but each of our events that we produce has a whole team of volunteers that makes it happen. So each regional festival has a host who recruits a team of volunteers. And it's a huge effort that we all come together to present together. So after those regional high school play festivals, there will be 16 productions that advance to the state high school play festival, which happens in Greensboro the weekend before Thanksgiving. And also on that weekend, we have Nctc College Day. And again, we are back in person. That's a little bit more of a hybrid event, our new favorite word, hybrid, but mostly in person. Students will be auditioning and presenting their portfolio in person. They'll have an opportunity to do virtual workshops surrounding that event. But we are just absolutely thrilled to be coming back together. And then later in December, we will again have a virtual showcase for those high schools that were not able to travel this year. So we'll be seeing some great work the second week of December, and it will be available for everyone to watch. You can find that on the homepage of our website, nctc.org. So that is what we're working on. And I know we're going to talk about Spirit Week in just a bit, but last year, we started Spirit Week because our students were not able to connect with each other in person. So that was our way to get something going, along with networks that we created for the students to share each other's work and watch and support one another. But this year, Spirit Week is just very exciting because we are coming back together, and this is a celebration of that.
It is, and I'm so excited to be a small part of it. Edith posted a question on Facebook, and so I really do want to talk about the advocacy work that continues, because Edith has been an educator for a long time as well. She says the arts are so important, but sometimes due to budgets, it's the first thing to get cut. So, Angie, can you speak to the ongoing advocacy work and how people can get involved in that aspect of the organization?
Absolutely. So first, advocacy is a thread that runs through everything that NCTC does. So these play festivals, a big part of the work that we do in relationship with these events is to bring principals along, bring school boards and superintendents along to make sure they understand the recognition that their programs are receiving, and they play a role in that. So we celebrate those administrators when they're with us, and we are in touch with them afterwards to make sure they understand the impact of the awards and just the work that their students are presenting. So we love being in those conversations, and we've heard from teachers that being a part of NCTC events and the advocacy work around has helped them grow their program, in some cases save their program. So it's a part of everything that we do. But we also do direct advocacy work with the state legislature. And I know you've had Nate on before, and you've talked about the high school graduation requirement, but this was 10 years in the making. Arts North Carolina, NCTC, other service organizations, many years ago, looked at what was being offered in our schools. And even though the arts were supposed to be a core part of the basic education plan, what we knew is that arts programs were not being offered in all of our schools. And in North Carolina, students could go all the way from K through 12 and not experience arts education. There was nothing written in the law that was mandating that our students were getting access to arts education. Now, many were in some way, but we took a look at, what can we do that would have a solid impact? And we started working on this legislation back in 2005, 2006 to introduce just one graduation credit for the arts. And it took more than 10 years, but finally, just as COVID was knocking us all on our heels, we got the great news that the legislature had passed this requirement. We start implementation next year. So students in grades 6 through 12 will take at least one arts education course to graduate from high school. It is probably the longest game I have ever played, but had the best payoff possible. So not only is this about getting arts education to our students, but it's about protecting teacher jobs. You have to have a qualified arts education teacher teaching these courses. And in order to do that, you have to keep them employed. So it's been a very important part of our work. Now, obviously, it's just one credit. We'd love to have more, and we will keep working on more. But that's just one example of what we're doing to protect teacher jobs and to lift up arts education in our schools.
It's so important. And for people who may not have children, I mean, I've seen, because I spent so many years volunteering in the school, what arts education can do firsthand for kids. It's transcendent for kids, especially for kids who don't have access to arts education outside of school. They don't take a dance class. They don't take a painting class. They don't take a theater class. But Judy, I'll ask you, because you're on the front lines as an educator and have done this for a long time. What are the benefits of arts education for our kids? Because it's not really about pursuing a career in the arts. There's so many other advantages it gives them.
Oh, right. And you know, when you talk about the things that you need, that employers are looking for in people that they hire, they're looking for people with communication skills, people who can collaborate with each other, not just exist side by side, but really put their minds together and create things, the creativity. And that doesn't just mean creating art, but finding new ways to do things, being creative and problem solving. And that is critical thinking. And all of that is something that you learn in the arts, whatever the arts is. And you'll also find that, you know, and you notice this if you look at the curriculum and the standards in education, that there are so many threads that you have connections with the core courses in the arts. And it's a way to implement all of that. And so I believe, and I've had 3 children, and they have all followed some sort of a path into the arts, and made sure they were exposed to it, whether they wanted to be or not. But I think they ended up really loving it. But it was a way to really see progress and growth as an individual in those areas that I mentioned.
And we also know that students that participate in arts education are less likely to drop out of school. We have hard data on that. Mm-hmm. And we know that they're likely to have higher test scores. And our administrators, as much as we do hate to see arts programs cut, and it does happen, for the most part, our administrators are taking notice of what good arts education can do. You know, we talked about those guides for reopening schools. If you look at the North Carolina safety toolkits that have been produced by the state superintendent's office, the Department of Education, the state school board, we have worked hard to make sure that there is information in there about the importance of arts education, and they have placed it in there to say that when schools reopen, arts education must be included, and we must find a way to safely do this. So sometimes we have to get loud, we have to remind folks, but we do have to remember that we're doing good work and people have taken notice. Sometimes they don't pay as much attention to us as other things, and that's our job to speak up and make sure they remember the importance of arts education.
I love it. Well, this is Spirit Week, and today is Musical Monday. Dress as your favorite musical character. I posted mine earlier. I had to take off my vest because it was really hot in here, but of course I had to be a newsie. Judy, do you want to show us your costume for today, Musical Monday?
Today I'm studying in a French classroom, and of course the Fantôme de l'Opéra is a story written by Gaston Leroux, and one of my favorite musicals. So I tried to make my get up kind of practical so I could move around and do what I needed to in it. So can you hear me? Can you understand me with this?
Yes.
So I have this wonderful mask that was made. I got it from Shared Radiance in Greensboro, and it has the theater masks on it. And then I also have as my little prop another mask. And I just thought the masking was so appropriate because we are so masked these days, and for good reason, but I just wanted to go ahead and do a practical thing with it.
I love it, and the mask is fabulous. Angie, yours is very personal, which I really love. So, what musical are you channeling today?
I'm cosplaying Annie. I don't quite have her red dress with the white collar, but I do have my own red dress. And this is the locket I wore when I played Annie as a child. I'm not one to keep a lot of keepsakes, but I've held on to this locket over the years.
So all week long, we're hoping that everyone will come together and participate in Spirit Week. Today's Musical Monday. Dress as your favorite musical character. Tomorrow is Twin Tuesday. This is how Judy wrote me into this last year. She twinned as me, which was so much fun. Wednesday is wear your favorite show shirt. Thursday is Tech Thursday. Tech Thursday, wear your best blacks as you would wear for Tech Week. And then Friday is Formal Friday. Dress like you're going to the Tonys, which will be really fun to see everybody's get-ups. And some of our friends at the Broadway Makers Alliance have jumped in on this bandwagon because most of them are high school theater kids or participated in their college theater programs, and they've donated prizes all week. So post your pictures dressed as your favorite musical character today. Tag NCTC and Beltline to Broadway. Use the hashtag NCTC Spirit Week. Tomorrow, I will be twinning with my friend Maddie from Nailing Broadway. And we will go live on Instagram at noon and draw a winner. And she's giving these fabulous nail decals away. We've got t-shirt giveaways all week. It's just going to be a fun week. And hopefully we'll just boost the signal on the amazing work that North Carolina Theater Conference is doing and continues to do. And I have a feeling this is the first of many collaborations because I'm totally addicted now.
So. We love it. We're so happy to have you on board, Lauren. And thank you for arranging such fun prizes and giveaways. And our Play Festival, obviously it's for the students, but we have theater industry professionals and community members all over the state that are involved every year. And it's really our favorite event. Not that we play favorites, but it's our favorite event. And it's so great to get everyone involved. You can remember the time you had in high school theater, but also just a way to celebrate the students and teachers and all the hard work they're doing to get back on stages this fall.
Well, for all of the information, visit nctc.org online. I will put all of the links when I repost this later. If you missed any piece of this conversation, as soon as we go off air, you'll be able to watch it live on Facebook or YouTube, or I'll be posting it on the website and sharing it later on. And I just can't wait to see everybody's pictures for Spirit Week and celebrate coming back to the theater and all the great things that are happening in our state. So thank you, Angie. Thank you, Judy, for being here and for all you do for so many of us. So thank you, guys. And thank you all for watching.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. See you tomorrow.